High in the Carpathian Mountains of Transylvania, there is a fortress that has been called many names. Bran Castle, the Gate of Transylvania, and most famously, Dracula's castle. To stand before it is to see a place born from nightmare. The towers rise like broken teeth against the sky, its walls clinging to a sheer cliffside as if daring the living to approach. By day, it is imposing. By night, under the silver light of the moon, it becomes something else entirely. A silhouette of fear. Locals whisper that sometimes after midnight, a single window in the tallest tower glows faintly, though no one is inside. Tourists have claimed to hear heavy footsteps echoing in the empty corridors, boots striking stone, though the castle is silent and locked. A few even swear they have seen a shadow drifting across the ramparts, a tall figure with piercing eyes, who vanishes when confronted. Some insist it is Vlad the Impaler himself, forever tied to the fortress. Others fear it is something far older, something that claimed Bran Castle long before his name was spoken. But why do the dead linger here? Why does Bran Castle continue to inspire terror across centuries? Is it merely legend, or do the stones themselves hold the memory of blood? Before we uncover more, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more chilling history. Bran Castle's reputation as Dracula's home was born in literature. When Bram Stoker penned Dracula in 1897, he described a fortress perched high above a valley in Transylvania, a place of dark halls and hidden chambers, where a vampire lord ruled over the night. Though Stoker never visited Romania, his description matched Bran closely enough that readers and historians alike soon made the connection. Ever since, Bran has been known as Dracula's Castle, a name that has drawn countless visitors seeking the Count's shadow. But the truth is far more unsettling. Long before the vampire myth, Bran Castle was a place of war, suffering, and death. Built in the late 14th century to defend against invading armies, it was a fortress of cruelty and fear. Prisoners of war were chained in its dungeons. Rebels and thieves were executed on its grounds. And when Vlad Tepes, known to history as Vlad the Impaler, passed through its gates in the 15th century, the castle's reputation for horror was sealed forever. The people of Romania did not forget his cruelty. They told stories of Vlad's enemies impaled on spikes lining the roads, their corpses left to rot in the sun. They whispered of the screams echoing from his chambers, where no prisoner left alive. And so when tales of vampires spread across Europe, it seemed only natural to tie them to Bran, a castle already drenched in terror. Yet the true horror lies not only in legend, but in the experiences of those who walk its halls even today. Visitors speak of sudden drops in temperature, as if passing through invisible walls of ice. Some hear voices whispering in Romanian, though no one is nearby. Guides have reported feeling watched in the empty stairwells, the sense of a presence following just behind them, footsteps in perfect rhythm with their own. In one of the castle's chambers, said to be a torture room, tourists have fainted without warning, later describing visions of blood-stained walls, chains rattling in the dark, and unseen hands gripping their throats. Paranormal investigators who bring recording devices capture faint screams, the clanging of iron, and once, the deep, guttural laugh of a man that no one present could explain. Bran Castle has been called the most haunted place in Romania, and yet, the deeper one explores, the darker its stories become. For if Vlad the Impaler's ghost truly walks these halls, he is not alone. There are tales of spirits older than him, drawn from Transylvanian folklore, strigoi, cursed souls said to rise from their graves and feed on the living. Some believe these creatures were here long before the castle was built, and that its foundations rest on their restless graves. Why do shadows move when no one is there? Why does the air in certain corridors taste of iron, as if blood still lingers on the stone? Why do those who dare to sleep within Bran often wake with bruises on their arms, shaped like fingers that were never there? The answers lie within the castle's tortured history of war, betrayal, and legends that refuse to die. And so we must journey deeper into its dungeons and towers, to uncover the truth of why Bran Castle remains the beating heart of fear in Transylvania. If Bran Castle has a heartbeat, it is Vlad who provides its pulse. Known to the world as Vlad the Impaler, he was a prince of Wallachia in the 15th century, both feared and revered, a man whose name still stirs unease centuries after his death. Vlad's childhood was one of captivity. As a boy, he and his brother were taken hostage by the Ottoman Turks, pawns in the violent struggle between Wallachia and its powerful neighbors. He grew up surrounded by betrayal, cruelty, and bloodshed, lessons that shaped him into the man history remembers, a ruler who wielded terror like a weapon. When Vlad returned to claim his throne, he had no illusions about mercy. He believed fear alone could keep enemies at bay. And so, he began his reign of horror. To his people, he was both protector and monster. Vlad earned his infamous name by his preferred method of execution, impalement. His enemies, whether soldiers, thieves, or rebels, were hoisted on sharpened stakes and left to die slowly, their corpses lining the roads like grotesque warnings. Chroniclers tell of entire fields covered with impaled bodies, forests of the dead that stank for miles. One account describes a feast where Vlad dined calmly at a table surrounded by his victims, their blood dripping into the soil beneath him. Was he defending his homeland or reveling in cruelty? That question has never been fully answered. What is certain is that the horror he unleashed burned itself into the memory of Transylvania and into the very stones of Bran Castle. Although historians debate whether Vlad ever truly lived within Bran Castle, there is no doubt he passed through its gates. The fortress was a strategic stronghold on the border between Transylvania and Wallachia, and its dungeons are said to have once held Vlad himself, imprisoned by Hungarian forces who feared his growing power. Some say he rotted in the cold stone cells beneath Bran, his fury staining the walls with a darkness that never left. Others claim he escaped with his soul intact, but left a curse behind, a mark that explains why so many spirits remain trapped within the fortress. It is here that the line between history and folklore begins to blur. The peasants of Transylvania whispered that Vlad was more than human, that his thirst for blood was not only symbolic. Tales spread of his piercing eyes that seemed to glow in the firelight, his uncanny ability to sense betrayal before it happened, and his habit of drinking the blood of his enemies from chalices. Whether these were exaggerations or truths, they became the seeds from which Bram Stoker's Dracula would one day grow. And so, the association between Vlad, Bran Castle, and the vampire myth became inseparable. Visitors today report feeling watched in the narrow corridors, as though Vlad himself lingers, judging intruders who dare step onto his cursed ground. Some claim his spirit manifests in dreams, appearing as a pale man in dark armor, who whispers warnings in a language long dead. Others believe he has not truly departed, that his essence is bound to the stones, waiting for a time when fear will once again restore his power. The atmosphere within Bran Castle seems to confirm these fears. Even modern paranormal investigators approach with caution. In the chambers said to have held prisoners, they detect sudden surges of electromagnetic energy, spikes of unnatural intensity, as though something unseen moves through the room. In the deepest dungeons, whispers in Romanian have been recorded, voices muttering prayers for mercy or cursing the living. And one recurring phenomenon chills all who experience it. A sensation of being pierced through the chest, sudden and sharp, as though an invisible stake has driven itself into the heart. Is it imagination, born of knowing the castle's history? Or is it the echo of Vlad's reign of terror, still etched into the atmosphere centuries later? The villagers of Transylvania have their own answer. To them, Vlad's spirit never rests. They tell of a phantom horseman seen riding near Bran Castle on stormy nights, a rider cloaked in black, carrying a spear, his face pale as death. Some say it is Vlad returning to patrol the borders of his domain. Others believe it is his punishment, doomed to ride forever between worlds, neither alive nor fully dead. The castle, too, seems to carry his curse. Guides speak of nights when the air grows so heavy that doors slam shut without cause, and when they open again, the sound of dripping blood echoes faintly from the stairwell. A small chapel within the grounds has been avoided for years, with visitors complaining of dizziness, nausea, and the sight of shadowy figures kneeling in prayer, only to vanish when approached. Even the animals sense it. Dogs brought into the castle bark at corners where no one stands. Horses outside refuse to climb the winding path after dusk, their eyes rolling in fear, their hooves digging into the soil. Legends may exaggerate, but fear rarely lies. For centuries, Bran Castle has been tied to Vlad's reputation, its stones echoing with screams long silenced. But there are darker stories still. Tales of the Strigoi, the restless undead of Romanian folklore, who stalk the castle grounds at night in search of blood. And if the ghost of Vlad lingers within these walls, perhaps he is not a prisoner at all, but their master. What are these Strigoi? And why do locals believe Bran Castle is one of their gathering places? The answers take us deeper into the folklore of Transylvania, into myths of vampires older than Dracula himself. Long before Bram Stoker wrote of Count Dracula, and centuries before Vlad the Impaler carved his legend in blood, the people of Romania already feared the dead who walked among the living. They called them Strigoi, cursed souls who rose from their graves to torment the living, feeding on their vitality and sometimes their blood. To understand Bran Castle's haunted reputation, one must understand the Strigoi. These creatures were not elegant aristocrats cloaked in velvet, as literature would later imagine. They were grotesque, restless corpses, swollen and discolored, their nails grown long, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They carried with them the stench of the grave. To the peasants of Transylvania, they were not fiction, but fact. When livestock sickened or children wasted away, suspicion fell upon the Strigoi. Families would exhume bodies believed to be cursed and perform terrible rituals, driving stakes through their hearts, cutting off heads, or burning them to ensure they could not rise again. The fear was so widespread that records from the 17th and 18th centuries describe entire villages digging up graves under the moonlight, guided by priests and torchlight, searching for signs of the undead. Some accounts even mention that the heart of a suspected Strigoi was cut out and mixed into a potion, which the sick were made to drink in hopes of breaking the curse. It was brutal, but to those villagers, it was survival. Bran Castle stood at the crossroads of these beliefs, looming over the Carpathian valleys like a sentinel against the supernatural. Locals whispered that the fortress had been built upon ancient burial grounds, places where restless spirits had never known peace. They believed the stones themselves absorbed the cries of the Strigoi, amplifying their power. Even today, some who walk the castle's lower halls describe a sensation of being drained, as though an invisible hand is pulling the warmth from their veins. The stories grew darker in the 15th century, when Vlad the Impaler's reign overlapped with these ancient fears. His cruelty blurred the line between man and monster. To peasants who already believed in Strigoi, Vlad's thirst for blood was not human at all. It was proof that he himself was one of them, or perhaps their master. Folklore twisted history, fusing Vlad's name with the ancient vampire myths until Bran Castle became their imagined gathering place. And the legends did not fade. Even in modern times, witnesses claim to encounter shapes in the shadows of Bran that resemble no ordinary ghost. Tourists report glimpses of pale figures with hollow eyes moving silently through corridors. Security guards speak of footsteps accompanied by guttural growls, the sound of something not human pacing the ramparts at night. Paranormal investigators have captured sudden bursts of static energy near the chapel and stairwells, followed by faint growls in their recordings, sounds that seemed less like voices and more like snarls. One chilling account comes from a group of visitors in the 1970s. They were walking through the castle's courtyard when one woman suddenly screamed, collapsing to the ground. When she was revived, she described feeling squeezed by something cold, her vision going dark as though a shadow had entered her. Hours later, faint scratches appeared on her arms, thin and red, as if from unseen claws. Some believe the Strigoi of Bran are not tied to specific graves, but to the land itself. Ancient Transylvanian myth tells of cursed souls who could never cross into the afterlife, forced to wander where they died. Bran, with its centuries of executions, torture and war, may be one of the strongest magnets for such unrest. Every prisoner who died in the dungeons, every soldier who fell at its gates, may have fed this haunting. And the strigoi, it is said, grow stronger where blood has been spilled. Locals still avoid the castle after dusk. Even those who work within its walls admit that certain rooms are never entered at night. They tell of phantom hands brushing against their shoulders, the feeling of being followed by something that lurks just beyond the range of sight. The courtyard, too, holds its own dread. On stormy evenings, some have claimed to see spectral figures gathering near the well, their bodies translucent, their faces blank, swaying as though in ritual. Others believe these are not mere spirits, but strigoi feeding on the living energy of those who wander too close. The strigoi were believed to take many forms, sometimes the ghostly shape of a human, sometimes a black dog, a bat, or even a flickering flame. Villagers swore they saw these lights moving around Bran Castle's towers, darting between windows before vanishing into the night. To them, this was no illusion, but proof that the dead were still walking. Perhaps the most disturbing reports come from those who dare to sleep inside. Guests who have stayed overnight describe waking with a crushing weight on their chest, unable to move, paralyzed as though something pressed down upon them. Some awaken with bite-like marks on their skin, small punctures that leave no rational explanation. These experiences mirror the ancient folklore of the strigoi, said to sit upon the chests of the sleeping, draining their life through breath or blood. Are these simply the effects of suggestion, the power of belief in a place soaked in dark legends? Or do the strigoi still walk, their hunger unending, drawn to Bran Castle as moths are drawn to flame? The castle holds its silence. Its walls do not answer, but the stories continue, from medieval peasants to modern tourists, each one weaving Bran more tightly into the fabric of vampire myth. And yet, the story of Dracula's castle is not finished, for the modern age has brought new investigations, new attempts to uncover the truth. Paranormal researchers, armed with technology, have entered Bran's chambers to face its legends. And what they discovered only deepened the mystery. In the modern age, Bran Castle has become both a tourist attraction and a laboratory of fear. By daylight, visitors admire its medieval architecture, winding staircases, and sweeping views of the Carpathian Mountains. But when night falls, the castle transforms. Its silence deepens, its corridors darken, and the stories return. For centuries, peasants and travelers whispered of shadows and voices. Today, ghost hunters and scientists come with cameras, sensors, and recorders, determined to uncover whether Bran truly deserves its haunted reputation. One of the earliest modern investigations came in the 1970s, when a Romanian folklore society arranged to spend several nights inside the castle. Their goal was simple: to test whether the vampire legends had any truth. They carried primitive recording devices, notebooks, and little else. What they experienced still unsettles those who read their journals. On the first night, a group of researchers reported hearing footsteps pacing above their chamber, though the floor above had been locked. Later, one man claimed he woke to find a pale figure standing at the foot of his bed, its eyes glowing faintly red, before vanishing in silence. The team left the next morning, shaken, unwilling to spend another night. In the decades that followed, Bran Castle drew international attention. Paranormal investigators from across Europe and America arrived, some seeking proof of ghosts, others hunting for Dracula himself. They brought with them tools of the trade: electromagnetic field detectors, thermal cameras, digital audio recorders. Again and again they reported strange results. Cold spots appeared without explanation, sudden drops of 10 degrees in narrow halls where no draft existed. Recorders captured voices in Romanian and Latin, whispers begging for mercy, screams cut short, and once, a single word repeated 3 times: Sanjay, blood. Skeptics argue that Bran Castle's atmosphere simply tricks the mind. Its dark halls, ancient stones, and grim history combine to make visitors expect the supernatural. Shadows, echoes, and even the body's own fear response can create illusions of presence. And yet, the evidence piles up. Investigators consistently document phenomena that defy easy explanation. Cameras malfunction in the same chambers. Batteries drain without reason. Voices are captured when no one is present. Some phenomena are physical. In the torture chamber, visitors report dizziness so severe they must leave immediately. Others complain of chest pain, as though something presses down upon their lungs. A few have fainted outright, later describing dreams of blood, chains, and screams. One group in 2004 claimed to see a figure in full medieval armor standing at the end of a corridor, its visor down. They assumed it was part of a reenactment, until it dissolved into mist before their eyes. And then there are the sightings of Vlad himself. Guides tell of a tall shadow seen moving along the battlements, even when no one is there. Some say they have seen him on horseback in the valley below, only to watch the rider vanish into smoke. Others claim his face appears in windows, pale, stern, watching, only for the glass to shatter moments later. Whether ghost, legend, or imagination, the fear he inspires remains as strong as when he lived. But Bran Castle's hauntings are not limited to Vlad. Visitors speak of the strigoi still roaming, their forms half seen in torchlight, their whispers echoing in empty halls. Some believe these restless souls were drawn here not by choice, but by the blood spilled in its history. Every war, every execution, every life ended in torment has left its mark. If strigoi are real, Bran Castle may be one of their strongest gathering places. The Romanian people, too, keep their distance from certain truths. Though they accept Bran as a tourist site, many locals avoid it at night. They say the land remembers. The forests surrounding the castle are thick with silence, and travelers who walk the paths after midnight often return pale, shaken, unable to describe what they saw. One legend tells of a phantom procession, dozens of shadowy figures carrying torches, that marches from the valley to the castle gates on certain nights, only to vanish when approached. Some believe these are the souls of the impaled, forever retracing their last steps. And so Bran Castle remains both history and myth, caught between reality and nightmare. For centuries, it has been a fortress, a prison, a home of legends, and now a global symbol of horror. Bram Stoker's Dracula gave it a name recognized across the world. But the true fear lies deeper, in the restless dead, in the strigoi, and in the shadow of Vlad the Impaler. Is it simply folklore that keeps Bran alive in the imagination? Or do the walls truly breathe with something darker, something waiting to be awakened? Those who leave the castle often feel it follows them. Some report vivid nightmares for weeks, dreams of pale faces leaning over their beds. Others claim to hear footsteps in their homes, echoes of the castle they thought they left behind, and a few whisper of waking in the night with a taste of iron on their tongue and a feeling of unseen eyes watching from the shadows. Perhaps that is Bran Castle's greatest curse, that once you enter, a part of it never lets you go. And so the question remains, one that no technology, no legend, and no ghost hunter has yet answered. Does Bran Castle merely hold the memory of terror, or does something within its walls still hunger for the living?